talking about business. If your administration satisfied with our legal framework to secure and protect the American investment in Venezuela?
Well, we believe that there needs to be a dialogue between the United States and Venezuela on a range of issues. As you know, we have returned our ambassador to Venezuela. We have been pleased to receive an ambassador from Venezuela because we want to have that kind of dialogue. We want to be able to discuss what we view as concerns, and one of them is the legal order for doing business in Venezuela. We think that Venezuela, like many countries, can benefit, as we do in our own country, from foreign investment, from people bringing in capital to improve business and the climate for business. And we would like to see a better relationship between our two countries.
Nowadays in Latin America, we are facing a new challenge because we have president elect by the people trying to change their law in order to stay in power, which at the end, in my opinion, it weakens their institution and minimizes the balance of power.
Well, as a general principle, I agree that anyone who stays in power for too long, even if they are initially elected in a free and democratic election, runs the risk of taking on too much power. That is not good for a democracy. And part of what we hope we will see over the next months in Venezuela is a recognition that you can be a very strong leader and have very strong opinions without trying to take on too much power and trying to silence all your critics. You know, I always have believed that you are stronger when you learn from those who criticize you and when you try to persuade people peacefully to come to your point of view. So I think there are ways that the current government in Venezuela could maintain a very strong presence without in any way raising questions about the commitment to democracy.
Okay. Going back to your administration, how would you describe the Obama strategy to deal with the inoculation of this new 21st century socialists raising in the most weak and poor countries in Latin America?
Well, first I think you have to ask yourself, why does this happen? And part of the reason it happens is because Latin America does have the largest wealth gap in the world. The gap between the richest and the poorest in Latin America is very wide. So there's a genuine concern on the part of many people. How do we get more income into the hands of the people at the bottom and help them have a better life? I think there are a lot of ways of doing that, but it hasn't worked yet the way that many people had hoped. So there's a level of legitimate questioning. What do we need to do differently? But I'm one who believes that you should be very cautious about how you proceed because there are always unintended consequences. And I don't think using democracy to undermine democracy is a good idea. I don't think that being in a position of authority and then trying to prevent others from having the right to express themselves is a good idea.
The quote, freedom for Cuba and the Cuban people, rounds a possibility for you under Castro political authority?
Well, as you know, we are engaged in discussions with the government of Cuba about matters that we believe are important, migration, for example. But we have made it very clear that we could not do much more in dealing with Cuba unless Cuba changes. The political prisoners need to be released. Free and fair elections need to be held. I've always believed that if you think you're doing a good job for people, then go out and try to persuade them to vote for you in an honest, free, and fair election. So we are opening up dialogue with Cuba, but we are very clear that we want to see some fundamental changes within the Cuban regime.
Finally, are we going to see a picture with President Obama and President Chavez at the Oval Office shortly?
Well, as you know, I think President Obama was quite surprised when he was given the book. But we're trying to lower the temperature. We want to make it clear that there are ways for us to have a conversation with people we don't agree with on many issues. We don't want to see interference with other countries' internal affairs. We want to see a vibrant democracy that reflects the very best that countries have to offer. We would like very much to see leaders being effective in helping to create greater economic opportunity for poor people. But we think there are ways that can work that are not anti-democratic, that would be very effective in enlisting the opinion of people and the support of people, but leaving room for constructive and legitimate criticism. And that's what we would like to see. We certainly live with that in our own country, and it's worked pretty well for us for a very long time. So I would hope that it could be viewed as a good idea for others as well.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you, sir.
Bueno, creo que ha quedado una idea muy clara. La defensa de la libertad de expresión, la idea de trabajar con Venezuela, de trabajar conjuntamente en un ambiente de respeto, de democracia y de libertad. ¿Será posible? ¿Quién tiene la palabra? ¿Dónde está la bola? ¿Quién la batea? Veremos.